And welcome to the Unknown Secrets of SEO podcast.
Hi, welcome back, everyone, for another fun-filled edition of our SEO podcast.
This is pretty cool. We're right here in front of the eWebStyle logo. We've got this nice, look at this fancy red. I'm sorry, you got the gray chair. I got the fancy red chair.
This is spiffy Swedish spine furniture.
You are right. Also known as cheap IKEA furniture. Thank you guys so much. Remember, you guys are listening to the most popular SEO podcast on iTunes. Let's just get a lot of stuff out of the way. We got to be very mindful of our Gino time limit. We got a lot to cover today, so I'm pretty excited. There's some really good information. First off, our last podcast, you want to go back and listen to that. Actually, our last two podcasts were interviews with Ken Roberts. I don't know if you had a chance to go back and listen to those, but they're pretty good. Some good information.
I haven't been through the first half of the first one.
Yeah, okay. Well, we missed you. We'll leave it at that. But there was some great information. Ken was really forthcoming with a lot of really good insights and interesting. Everything with regard to Google is really opinion, right? Unless you work at Google, unless we had a Google badge on. Although Google did call me this week.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
We'll be covering that in a little bit. It's kind of cool when Google calls.
Yeah, I thought it was garbage. He called earlier in the day, and I was like,
That's
yeah,
gonna be,
right.
Yeah. Actually,
you called me from Google.
Yeah,
shut up.
Why? Did we do something wrong?
Get my links back.
So go back and listen to that podcast. Ken is really good at what he does and provided some great information. And a while back we had somebody requested some interviews, so we're we take listener requests, as certainly David Bowie would attest to. So go back, Darren. I'm sorry, Darren and his brother David. David's not as interested as Darren is. Hi, Darren. You can stalk us. We like it when you stalk us. You can stalk us by following us on Twitter. We actually tweet the beginning of this podcast so that you can catch it live on video. I don't think I mentioned it yet. This podcast is being broadcast live, the video of it, video and audio, and we do that every Friday at 9:15 Central Standard Time. We actually got started on time today. That's awesome. So we tweet that we're about to start, so that'll, if you follow us, then, you can actually be made aware that we're about to start. Twitter.com/eWebStyle is the link for that. You can also find us on Facebook. The easiest way to find us on Facebook is ewebstyle.com/Facebook. That'll take you immediately to our Facebook page. To find where we're streaming this video, go to ewebstyle.com/Ustream, and then we cut up these videos and put them on YouTube. So it's kind of they're limited to 10 minutes. It's kind of highlights that you can go see. And you can find that at ewebstyle.com/YouTube. I'm going to throw one more thing in here. We've talked a number of podcasts about the great testimonials that we're getting and the great reviews that we're getting on iTunes. We're going to ask you if you get anything valuable out of our podcast, and I'm not only talking to you, Darren. Please do us a favor. Our podcasts are actually hosted on Podomatic. So if you were to go to ewebstyle, there's no www. So ewebstyle.podomatic.com. That'll take you to our podcast page on Podomatic. On there, you can do two things that would be really helpful to us. One, you can add yourself as a friend, so I'm sure you're going to have to create an account. Just get in there, create an account. I'm sure it's a simple process. And add us as a friend, and then also become a follower. You'll be really helping us out. We're happy to help you, and if you become a friend or follower, send us a message, and we'll give you a little link love. We'll give a shout out on this internationally recognized podcast and videocast. I think that's it. Wow. Certainly we have not exceeded the Gino time limit on that one.
Probably, but it's all right.
Probably anyway. He's just, okay, Gino, you can stop fast forwarding now.
He's already tuned out.
Yeah. So let's see. We've got a number of things. I thought that was great. I had to bring this up. We talk about, there is value in posting information on other blogs, and we talk about other blogs, any sort of forums, any place that you can open up a dialogue. You can actually put information there typically and turn around and have it linked back to you, and that's a good thing to do. There's value in that. We actually do that. Here's what's not to do, right? Because this is just, if it's a blog, and here's what I think happens. I think there's a lot of blogs out there or forums where they don't check anything. They're like, somebody was interested in our website, boom, we approve it, that person gets a backlink. So he's encouraged to run around and keep posting things like this. Hey, great blog, just looking around some website. Seems a pretty nice platform you are using. I am currently using WordPress for a few of my websites, but looking to change one of them over to a platform similar to yours as a trial run. Anything in particular you would recommend about ours, which is WordPress? I use WordPress. I really like your platform. What's nice about your platform? Well, what's nice about it is it's the same damn platform that you're using.
Yeah.
And I certainly did not approve that message onto our blog. So just crazy, stupid stuff.
Nice robot.
Let's see, what else we got out. A little bit of news. You've probably heard, been following this a little bit, Paul. Google pulled out of China.
Out of China, yeah, like yesterday.
Should we I don't know. Would you clap? Are we excited?
Well, nobody's actually listening to this in China because we would have got banned about 6 months ago. We would have got banned about a year and a half ago. Had we been listening, people have been listening to this in China. So I did see that. People in China. I did see people in China will still be able to use it. It's just going to be hard as hell for them to actually get to it.
They have to do like multiple proxies or something,
which is kind of weird, man. And then Google. China starts bashing Google. I'm like,
Well, you know what's funny though? The article that I read said Google pulls out of China, and China has like a media statement about is immediately censoring the fact that Google's leaving China.
So we're not going to mention it.
Maybe they made another website that looks exactly like Google, is the Chinese search engine, and so when you type Google.com, it just sends you over to the Chinese.
It goes to Chugal.
It goes to Chugal. Oh man. So and some of the party line was that we should be telling Google not to go or whatever, and then ultimately China doesn't really care. Apparently that's what that's all about.
Yeah, they don't really care. I read this thing that these Chinese bloggers were saying, the Chinese government's never really, and they'll probably send somebody to my house for saying this, but the Chinese government's never really followed their own constitution. That's what they were saying. So why are people making a big stink about it? They've never followed their own constitution. Why are we expecting them to now? And I was like, that's a pretty powerful statement.
They actually could knock on your door because they probably own your place.
Yeah, really though. Really though. And that dude that probably wrote that, he's probably dead.
Did I just laugh at that? That was probably
true though.
Inappropriate.
It's probably true. So man, that's I followed it and I kind of had to stop following because I was like, all right, what's going on? They go pulling, they're staying, Google in China, and then I tell you what's gonna happen. They're gonna be next year. They're gonna come together. When rappers beef, then Louis Farrakhan always brings them together later. They donate money to charity. So next year, look for a rap video from Google and China with Al Sharpton bringing them together, donate money to the some charity. At least that's what happens in the hip hop community.
So are we looking for a Chinese Al Sharpton or a Chinese technological
Chinese Al Sharpton? Bringing these people together.
Making money at the same time. He gets a cameo in the video.
There you go.
Wow, that's a Geno infringement. I loved it though. I like that. So this was an interesting article. We talk about this all the time, and I had to click on it. I don't remember what website it was, CNN Tech or something, and it said content is king with websites. And it's really interesting to see that like on the front technology page of any sort of publication, because that's something we say all the time. I just wanted to make sure they weren't quoting us.
Yeah.
Or that they quoted us and, they gave us proper credit. And it did have something pretty interesting in its statistic. I don't know how they came up with the statistic. I don't doubt it. I think it actually makes sense. And it says that content-driven websites receive 73% more traffic than transactional websites.
Transactional website meaning like
Amazon.
e-commerce? Oh, okay.
So
based on the transaction. I got you.
My kind of thinking about this is that Wikipedia gets 73% more traffic than Amazon. They're both kind of monsters in their respective industries, and because Wikipedia is content-driven and Amazon is transaction-driven, that
I'm going to agree. I mean, it's probably, I'm not sure, but I'd say yes, because anytime I do a search for anything, I'm doing research on something, Wikipedia is there. Always comes up, and I'm like, God dang, I'd like to see somebody else's opinion other than Wikipedia. Everything they come up for, so...
Well, it's kind of cool, though. Every article in Wikipedia is somebody else's opinion.
Yeah, I guess. And
there might even be multiple opinions inside one article.
So
Wikipedia's pretty interesting stuff. It's an interesting concept, and it really has worked. Remember when we used to have, when we were like, oh, damn, I got to do a report on Spain. Let me either go to the library or we actually happen to walk over and get this big book and look up Spain and then read like the 18 pages they had on Spain, and now you just type Spain.
Yeah, now you just copy it,
paste it.
You just plagiarize it from Wikipedia. That's what's up.
Kids have it so easy
these
days.
Yes, they do.
I'm expecting twins. I'm going to buy encyclopedias and make them use encyclopedias. Damn it.
Gosh, I don't know kids know what an encyclopedia is these days. Or an iPad with a Wikipedia app.
Oh, man. We're on some sort of roll today. Let's see. Oh, Google called me. Like I said earlier.
Talk about that. That's going to be interesting. So you're going to start getting calls from Google.
Yep.
And it actually is Google. Well, I don't know whatever country you're listening to, it may not be, but it was Google.
Google actually called me, yeah. And apparently, I think it's San Jose and Houston are the two starting cities. Don't ask me why it would be those two for a new service that they have, and it's called, I think, Local Sponsored Listing. And so they called me. Of course, they wanted money. Mm-hmm. They didn't just want me to tell them how good they were and, to thank me for referring to them repeatedly in our internationally known podcast. No, it wasn't that. It was they want our money. And what they have is we're all familiar with Google local results. So in this particular case, you can go to a browser and type in, go to a search engine and type in not a search engine. This is the one time I really mean Google.
Yeah.
Go to Google and type in Lawyer Houston. And in the local spots, you'll notice that there's a little something different. There's a little like yellow post-it or highlighter looking thing, and then a little sponsored ad there. And the concept is that as it was pitched is that makes it stand out. So it was kind of interesting. This is, we're in the business of sales, so when we're talking to people, we know numbers we're throwing out and numbers that we don't want to reveal or whatever in a particular case, although we really don't have many we don't want to reveal. But he said, right now you're getting a 5% click-through rate. And I was like, wow, that's pretty good. And he's like, you think that's good? I was like, yes.
Yeah.
I'm in the industry. I know that's good, actually. And he's like, oh, okay, well, that's about what we're seeing on average, is any of the sponsored listings are getting, any of the local, Google local listings are actually getting about a 5% click-through rate. And I was like, oh, that's great. Well, this clearly is going to make it stand out. It's got the yellow thing. It's highlighted. It says sponsored. It makes it a little bit bigger. And so I said, so what kind of click-through rate are you seeing on those? Oh, it varies.
Nice not way to answer.
Yeah, nice non-answer.
Yeah.
Thank you. The cost for it is $25, which I think is pretty reasonable. It depends on your market. We have a lot of things that we're involved in. So in this particular case, we probably won't do it. They called for PatrickWanis.com. He's got hypnosis CDs for quitting smoking and losing weight. And if you think about it, somebody who's typed quit smoking hypnosis Houston, which is actually where it comes up, is really looking for like a hypnotherapist in the Houston area. And it's a pretty tough sell to get them to go from I want a therapist to I want a CD. Or Patrick does do phone consultations, but a lot of people are very apprehensive about doing phone consultations. So, for $25 a month, we probably won't be doing it.
Here's my question, and my guess is assuming that they gave these sales reps a list of companies that are probably already on the local maps
and have spent time, probably also have spent some time actually creating a local entity.
Yeah, creating setting up their Google local profile or Google local business or whatever. So they're probably just calling them. And we probably should have asked them, okay, what about the people that aren't on this profile? Are you offering a service to them to get them on the profile? Because I'd probably say that's coming next.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. I'd probably say that is probably what's coming next. And say, we can put you in the local profile.
So your previous in your previous life, you were a Yellow Pages sales guy.
Yes.
Isn't he doing the same thing?
Exactly.
You've already got a listing, right? The listing is either free or you've created the free listing. Let's make it more effective.
Put some funny color around it, or whatever.
Whatever I used to say.
Yeah, whatever I used to say. I think that's cool. So now, what countries they're offering this in, I don't know. Right now, just Houston and San Jose in the United States. But I think that's cool. That's just a testament, hey, how Google is changing. Next month, they're going to say, all right, we're going to have something else. Now there's going to be Google something else. And now there's going to be 30 listings on the first page. Google local, the natural results, and there's
generic or whatever.
Oh, actually there is, because there's the sponsored listings already. So now there's going to be 40. Yeah, man. I mean, Google's very intelligent. You should always watch what they're doing. And if someone does try this, let us know how it works.
Yeah, that's a great.
Let us know how it, because there's somebody in Houston or in San Jose is going to take it. That's listening to the podcast is going to take advantage of it, and it might be a phenomenal. It might be a great way to market a business for $25.
Yep.
Well,
and I think if if you're doing window cleaning or if you're Joe the plumber, and your listing's up there and you're getting a 5% click through, that is good. And if you can increase that even marginally, $25 a month, that's one customer.
Yeah. That's definitely one customer. But I mean, to Google, seriously, if you're going to call me and pitch me and have some solid numbers, I mean, anyone that's
not. And give us our link back.
Thank you. Anyone that's not a complete retard is not, and I probably shouldn't use that word. But
did you tell me that's the actual word?
Yes, so in Houston schools, they actually use that in meetings. They use the term
So you were talking to some teacher, and she's like, yeah, I teach retards. And you're like,
whoa! Yeah,
it sounds uncomfortable.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not really comfortable with that. She's like, no, that's the term that we use. That's our principal uses that. I'm like, all righty then. But, if you're going to call me and pitch me, anyone that's not a retard is going to ask you questions like, okay, if the industry standard is a 5% click-through rate, what is the click-through rate of people that have this particular feature on their local listing?
Yeah.
So if you can't answer that, like how the hell are you going to sell somebody, man? Come on.
Well, the reality is it probably goes from like 5 to 5.5%, which is within the margin of error of any particular whatever.
So 0.5%.
You were actually listening, huh? so it's it's within some error, and then of course some people aren't getting any additional results, and then who knows. The one thing that I didn't add, and maybe I'll give them a call back, is does sponsored listing guarantee that you end up in one of the top 10? Because we know right now that there are people, and I think it's related to the key terms that are in your listing, but we usually identified that the Google local listings were related to the center of the city, right? So
it makes sense to think that.
Yeah. If you type in a zip code, okay, that's one thing, because then you can list people in that zip code. But if you type in Houston or some of our suburbs, Baytown, Sugar Land, or whatever, then let's just say Houston. So all of those people who serve the suburbs will also serve Houston typically. And who are the first 7? There are more than 20 plumbers in Houston.
Yeah. And who decides how those 10 get their local listing.
And does doing a sponsored listing increase your ability
chances
to
of
be
getting it?
No.
And why is there like 5 in the center of the city and then like 3 that are way out here on the outskirts? Why? Well, I mean, I would love to know the answer to that question.
Complicated issues. The other reason that we wouldn't do it with Patrick is because currently when you type in "quit smoking hypnosis Houston," there's only 3.
Oh.
So to make us stand out of 3, maybe that's why we're. Well, he would argue that 5% isn't that good. Maybe it's why 5%, which I think is actually good, is because for every time somebody sees our listing, there's only 3 other competitors. And
then here's another question: what is the click-through rate for the natural listings?
Yeah, give us that number.
Yeah, and then let me compare that to the local maps.
So now the thing that and this is something that we will be talking to people in terms of branding. You really are going to want to have a sponsored Google local business listing. You're going to want to have pay-per-click sponsored ads because it's, again, about branding. And you're going to want to have organic. And that's where you either listen to this podcast and find out how to do it, or you hire a company like eWebStyle to take care of that for you. So very interesting stuff. It's always cool when Google comes out with
something, especially when they come out with something new. New ways to market your company, and they'll have something new in a few months. They'll be calling us for something else. So I'm actually excited to hear about what else is coming.
What's next? Yeah, because they've always got something up their proverbial sleeve.
Yes.
I think I mentioned this probably 3 podcasts ago. I did, but I didn't have it in my hand, so I really couldn't kind of say, "Oh, look, this is what they're doing." This is Facebook Analytics. For those of you watching the video, I'm going to describe this so you don't really need it. Need to watch the video for all of our podcast listeners out there. It's pretty cool because I'm just going to cover some of the stuff that it has in here. We've got a growing list of fans. And over the course of a 12-month period, it shows interactions. And in this case, it's showing, I think it's because it's a black and white print, it doesn't show, but it's got like how many comments did we have, how many wall posts did we have, how many total interactions, and how many people can click like on Facebook or dislike or whatever. They don't seem to sum that up. It also, of our fans, it tells us currently only 26% are female. So if you're a dude out there, you really and some chicks, then you should turn them on to our show.
Yes.
Statistically, we're sexist.
Yeah. We are statistically sexist. That should be the title of our podcast. I am. So all the dudes need to stop listening and tell.
No.
Except for Darren.
That's not our plan.
Oh, yeah,
we got to keep them listening and get them to convince their younger, more attractive sister to listen also.
So, dude, when you listen to this, have your girl listen to it with you.
Yeah.
That's a way to bond. Like, hey, baby, let's listen to this podcast.
Or you know what's probably going to happen, because this is technology. We're going to have a bunch of dudes go out and create female Facebook accounts and become our fans.
And that's cool as long as your picture looks good.
I'm cool with that.
I'm okay with that.
Again, we really appreciate all your support out there.
And to me, that's another reason. If you have a business, you need a Facebook fan page or a group, or I don't know what they call it.
I think it's actually a Facebook business page.
A business page.
I think.
Yeah, it's another reason you need it, so you could spend 20 hours a day doing Facebook analytics. To your Google Analytics. But I thought that was really cool. That's some Facebook Analytics was not something I'm familiar with.
And I totally wasn't expecting it. I just got an email from him saying, "Hey, here, click these links." I'm like, wow, damn, more analytics I gotta follow.
More time to spend in front of this computer.
All right, so we've got a great listener question. Remember, I think we mentioned earlier, hey, send us information. If you're using Google Local Sponsored, send us an email and let us know. And you can send that email to podcast@e-webstyle.com. We've got this email from Darren. Apparently his brother David doesn't like to write us. Is it David? Did I say?
Yeah.
Am I making another one?
No,
Darren and Don and David and Derek. Anyway, Darren sent us an email, and he's got some good. Actually, this is like his 3rd or 4th, and he comes up with some really good questions. And And there was some stuff that, frankly, when I kind of set some of these things up, I just did it the easiest way I thought. And Darren went in and was thinking that he could get more information and did it a much more complicated way, and then asked a question, should I face back or whatever. So, do you want to read his the question?
Okay, here goes. At the moment, I have my website set up with Google Analytics. Slightly wrong, but that's his way of explaining it. At the present, I have each page with a new different profile. So Google thinks darrenbowie.eu/index.htm is a separate website to darrenbowie.eu/services.htm. So each page of his site has its own analytics. In a way, this does make it easy to compare visitor percentages and sources, but does not allow me to set up goals, as I believe visiting my other pages would be calculated as bouncing. And that is correct. Because goals, you can say, all right, I want a goal set up when they get to my thank you page or my order completion page. And if you have each individual page set up as its own analytics, you can't set that goal. I mean, you could set up a goal as for time on site,
right?
But you couldn't do that particular goal. So yes, that is correct.
Or there's in sales, there's a classic funnel a process where you make contact with people, and then people get a visit, and then people or get a second phone call and a visit, and then a contract, and then it actually becomes closed business. The same kind of funnel effect works on a website, so that they come in from someplace or to multiple different pages, and then what we're trying to do is get them to subscribe to a newsletter, or we're trying to get them to purchase or whatever, and so we want to track that funnel. And yes, Darren, you're exactly right. The only real way to track that is to actually have them on the same site, because then Google is actually following it on page per page through the site. Mm-hmm. So I would recommend. I know you're going to lose some data. You're not going to really lose it. It's just going to be significantly more inconvenient. But I would definitely recommend that you just choose one of them, probably your index page, the one that's getting the most traffic in general. Mm-hmm. Choose that page and use that as your analytics account for your entire website. Because then you're going to be able to do things like set up goals. I think you can actually you are going to be able to compare visitor percentages and all of that just the same, because in Google Analytics you can peruse your data via content. So you're looking at content, and here's the 3 top pages, and the most popular page got 300 hits. The second most popular page got, and it's usually drastically lower, got 20 hits, and the third most popular page got 10 hits. So you can actually track all of that stuff as soon as you start collecting data for that. So Darren, definitely you want to switch that to one. And that's a great question. So I think there's one other question, right?
Yes. The next question, which is something that I have always wondered the answer really to this question, because people have asked, and I've read different things. And I had to ask Chris on this one. It says, another question which may also interest listeners is web forwarding. I have recently purchased some great domain names loosely related to my business, but at present do not want to host them. I have instead set them up as web forwarders. So when somebody visits the domain, they are automatically forwarded to my website or to his homepage. Would Google consider this black hat? So you buy 5 domains, you have one website, and you forward all these domains to the one website. And I've seen this. I actually see this not all the time, but maybe a few times a month. I'll run into something like this where I'll type in a domain and it forwards directly to another one. And the answer is?
Well, the answer is, and here's a good example. We've got one of our clients. They're not doing SEO with us, and he decided to go out. I think it's a family business, and one of his sons read that the domain is very important. So they went out and bought like 20 domains, and we forwarded them to his main website. And we wouldn't have done that if it were black hat, because obviously that would run the risk, even though we're not doing SEO for him, that would run the risk of him getting totally banned. And that's something that we're not going to do. It can help you. In general, the better thing to do with those other domain names is to make other websites with content, have those other websites, and create a network. If you're going to make these websites and you're going to have them out there, create a network of links so that you've got valuable information about whatever your subject matter is on on one of your new websites, and that's pointing to a very particular page in your target website, if you will. So having multiple websites, again, never forget your goal, your job as an SEOer, as in the process of SEO, is providing a good experience to the Google user. So if you've just got fluff out there, that's not going to be providing a good product or experience for the Google user. You're not going to do well. You're not going to do well for a number of reasons. First off, if they get to the fluff page and they even read it and realize, we saw some content this week that it was just laughable. This is something that no one should use.
Yeah.
I can't believe anyone would even suggest to use it. And if we had put that information up for one of our clients and a visitor got there, they wouldn't have stayed. They would have just, they would have said, "Oh, these guys
don't have a high school education." That's what I would have thought when I read it. Like, what's this guy's problem?
Yeah. So make them valuable pieces of information and maybe, gear them. It's a kind of a whole structure that you can create and point that in. For now, just pointing it there, what happens is your main website, in the case of Darren, is darrenbooy.eu, and that's DARRENBOOY.eu. So that's his, I'm assuming that's his main site. So his main site, as he points out, his main site has already been indexed by Google. So as he's pointing these other ones, Google will eventually find those, even if you don't submit them, Google will eventually find those other domain names, and then it'll just say, oh, this particular domain name has duplicate content, and that is going to go into the supplemental. And in the supplemental, it's highly unlikely that that page will come up, although it can. We know that. We know that there are pages in the supplemental with the right collection of keywords will show up on the first page, first position even. So, but in general, it's going to be, it's going to be thrown in the supplemental, and it's not going to bring that much value. Yeah. So don't worry about it, and don't expect it to do anything, magical.
And here's a kind of a segue or dovetail or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to add on to that because I know somebody out there is thinking that, and because I get asked this question by a buddy. I've been asked this question a few times by a buddy of mine, by two buddies of mine. Can I take my website, basically just copy it and throw it onto the new domain? And all of you can answer this question, but the answer is no. I mean, if you're a new listener, you probably can't. No, don't do it. Because a buddy of mine asked me that a few months ago. Can I just take this, website, copy all the files, and put it under a new domain? No. Yeah, you can if you copy all the files, change all of the content.
That sounds like more work.
Yeah, exactly, man. And I guess would go back to show that in SEO, there really are no shortcuts. Or if there are, hey, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah. Send them to podcast@e-webstyle.com.
There are no shortcuts. You got to put in the time. You got to put in the work. And it's time consuming. That's why people will call a company like us, because they're like, I don't want to do this. I want to run my business.
If they wanted to call us, how would they call us?
You would call us at area code or country code. Yeah.
Good
001 area code 713-592-6724. Even though I have been writing the wrong phone number on my order forms.
On your order? Oh, I had a client today who was finalizing contract, and she goes, I dialed the number on the contract, and I was like, why isn't this working? And I told her, I was like, oh my God, they're already out of business. People are worried whenever they're signing a contract with somebody, like, they're already out of business. Cancel everything. That's hilarious. All right, well, we've actually come to our not Gino time limit, but to our podcast time limit. So we really appreciate you have been listening to the most popular SEO podcast on iTunes. This we are completing podcast 53.
53.
And I'm running a little bit late on getting the last podcast up, but we'll get that back up and running again.
Before we go, I want to say thanks to Darren again, and to everyone that listens. Darren did something that I didn't ask, but I've always wanted. Darren sent a couple pictures of the city that he lives in.
Eindhoven.
Eindhoven, really?
Yeah. Or Eindhoven.
EINDHOVEN, because I was going to be like Eindhoven, I don't pronounce European cities very often.
No,
so.
it's not. And you're right. No, you're right. Eindhoven. I wasn't reading it.
But you know what, dude? It might be. I don't know because
Eindhoven.
I pronounce things phonetically the way I was learned in American English class, and I barely passed. So, but thank you.
So
Darren.
not only is it an American education, it's a marginal American education.
Seriously, though. I got like a B- in English, and I grew up here. But thanks, Darren, man. I thought it was very cool. And if you listen to this in another part of the world, send some pictures. Let us know where you're at. Maybe we'll put them up sometime.
Yeah, we may end up putting up some.
I thought it was very, very cool, man. I know I didn't ask, but now I'm asking. Thank you, Darren. I appreciate it. It was very cool. I'd like to see where listeners are coming from. And if you're in China, don't, because they'll probably be knocking on your door.
Or our door.
Yeah, really. Don't even download this in China because I don't want to
stop listening.
I don't want to be arrested.
We do actually have listeners in China.
That's what's up. Yeah. It's probably the government.
Figuring out how they can optimize their pirated and redirected misdirection.
And I'd love for someone in China to send us an email. Let us know what's going on over there.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. All right, that is podcast number 53. Again, most popular SEO podcast on iTunes. That is because of you. We really appreciate you. Until the next podcast, my name is Chris Burris.
And I'm Paul Hansen.
Bye-bye for now.